Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Hopefully you're watching us from inside on this blustery night. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. From the coast to the mountains, the wind has been the story. KPBS reporter Alexander Wynn spent the day out in the elements.
The surf's up, with waves pounding the Ocean Beach pier, and no surfers in sight. It's too rough out there today.
Well, you know, it's not what I expected. I was hoping for sun and warm.
Cynthia Arcaro and Chris Howland are visiting from Michigan. While the weather could be nicer, they're still glad to be here.
It's pretty windy today, but it doesn't keep us inside. It's like it's fun in San Diego to see the beautiful ocean and watch the dogs. It's like it doesn't keep us inside.
The high wind is part of the second windstorm hitting the area since Sunday. Here in the mountains, winds are expected at 35 to 45 miles an hour, with gusts expected at 80 miles an hour. Here at the beach, the winds are expected to be 25 to 35 miles an hour, with gusts expected at 40 miles an hour. The storm is coming from Alaska and is very energetic, according to National Weather Service Dan Gregoria.
We actually could see wind gusts to about 100 miles per hour along parts of the desert slopes.
But don't expect much rain from this system.
It's really a wind maker. So this is going to be a windstorm for Southern California, concern for some downed trees, blowing objects, and really rough conditions at the beaches.
And rough conditions for planes landing and taking off at San Diego International Airport, as well as high-profile trucks and vehicles in the mountains and deserts. The National Weather Service has issued a wind advisory until 10 p.m. tonight for the mountains and deserts. Back at the beach, Carl and Howland says this is fall weather for them.
Carl's having a ball.
Having a blast.
He's a beagle. He's a good boy.
Yeah.
He's in his
glory.
Yes, he's in his glory here.
Alexander Wynn, KPBS News.
And here is some more from Alex. He shared this video with our newsroom showing the near zero visibility on the 8 freeway this morning in Descanso. We'll have more weather a little bit later, including your forecast for the days ahead. San Diego State University has shut down a campus building following a report of a case of Legionnaires disease. KPBS reporter Kitty Alvarado spoke with the county health officer and students about the health risk.
SDSU's Exercise and Nutritional Sciences building was closed Monday after a report of a single case on campus of Legionnaires, which is a form of pneumonia. San Diego County Health Officer Dr. Cameron Kaiser says people with lung conditions and weak immune systems are most vulnerable.
And while it can be treated with antibiotics, the fatality rate unfortunately can be as high as 25% in those people who are vulnerable, and there is no vaccine. But fortunately, the good news is that most people will never get infected, let alone sick, even if they're exposed.
He says people get the disease by breathing in Legionella bacteria when water becomes an aerosol.
It is usually found naturally in fresh water and can sometimes contaminate things like water tanks, showers, hot tubs, where people might breathe in the mist.
Kaiser says they're working with SDSU to get the building tested and evaluated. SDSU said in a statement they don't know if the building is the source of the bacteria or how the person who is sick was connected to the building.
Just because somebody sick with Legionella lives or works in a particular building doesn't mean they got it there, and almost certainly doesn't mean that they've infected the building.
Most students we spoke with had no idea what it was, and the ones who did, like Ana Claudia Uribe, did not know there was a case on campus.
Communication on their part is really important because they don't really talk to us about a lot of things that could have underlying health conditions for us in the future.
But a few, like Patrick Harris Ritter, felt confident the university had everything under control.
This is a serious issue, but I do trust that the SDSU Health Department is doing their utmost to protect me and all these students on campus.
If the bacteria is found in the air conditioning system, the building will have to be closed for months.
Again, can't say at this point whether the SDSU building is even involved in this particular case, but we always want to make sure that when we're dealing with a large air conditioning system that it's as clean as possible, because that can be a great way to infect a lot of people at once.
Symptoms resemble other illnesses going around, like the flu and COVID.
Because it is, after all, a pneumonia. You can get cough, fever, and shortness of breath.
It does feel like we can't catch a break.
According to SDSU, the infected person is recovering off campus, and everyone is asked to stay away from the building and check if their classes will be moved online. Kitty Alvarado, KPBS News.
San Diego County health officials are monitoring an uptick in hepatitis A cases. 5 people contracted it over about a month, with 1 death reported. In 2017, a Hep A outbreak, largely among unsheltered residents, infected nearly 600 people. 20 people died. The county usually sees 2 to 3 cases per month, and these latest cases are not connected, so this is not considered an outbreak. 3 of the cases are among those experiencing homelessness. Deputy Public Health Officer Ankita Kadakia says Hep A spreads through close contact and fecal matter, so simple measures like hand washing and good hygiene can help prevent it.
But who we are concerned about are individuals who might be at higher risk, and this does include persons experiencing homelessness. It also includes individuals that use illicit drugs. We want to make sure that those individuals aren't sharing needles and also are vaccinated to prevent contracting hepatitis A.
And the county says the general public is not at greater risk. They're working with homeless shelters and service providers to vaccinate higher risk individuals. The federal government is ending emergency food assistance that helped thousands of San Diegans get through the COVID pandemic. Now an organization is stepping up to fill in the gap. The San Diego Foundation announced their community food grant program on Monday. $4.5 million is available to feed low-income communities and those with limited access to healthy foods. Christiana DeBenedict is with the San Diego Foundation, and she says the pandemic exposed inequalities in our food system.
The focus of this community food program is really to address those challenges and to build regional capacity for our community-based grassroots organizations with a focus on investing in solutions and empowering community choice and food sovereignty.
Applications are being accepted for initiatives that focus on efforts to grow, raise, and harvest crops and fish, or to forage food and process and distribute it. It's open to eligible nonprofits. Applications are being accepted until March 31st. The need for more housing and sustainable transportation has North County's transit agency exploring ways to maximize the use of their land. KPBS North County reporter Tanya Thorne breaks down the changes on the horizon for multiple stations.
Where there is space, there is opportunity. North County Transit District sees opportunity in the underutilized land around their transit stations.
The goal is to transform our stations into vibrant multi-mobility hubs that have mixed uses, housing, commercial, retail, as well as our transit operations.
Chris Orlando is the Chief Planning and Communications Officer with NCTD. He says mixed-use projects are being proposed around 4 North County stations: Oceanside, Carlsbad Village, Carlsbad Poinsettia, and Escondido.
To not only drive ridership, but also create revenue for the district and add housing to the region.
The furthest along in the pipeline is the redevelopment of Oceanside's 10-acre transit center. The transit hub connects travelers to Amtrak, Orange County's Metrolink trains, and NCTD's Coaster, Sprinter, and Breeze buses. The station's redevelopment includes over 500 mixed-income apartments, along with a boutique hotel and commercial space. The transit center will also get modernized. NCTD's headquarters will also be relocated to Oceanside's transit center. Once they've moved, their old building will be redeveloped into residential apartments that will include market rate and affordable units.
The redevelopment of the Oceanside Transit Center is a keystone for the city and their long-term vision of the development of this city. Redevelopment of this site is an extension of downtown.
Lillian Doherty is NCTD's Director of Planning and Development. She says developers are currently negotiating with the city of Oceanside, and construction is anticipated to start in 2025.
We really do anticipate a cultural shift of our riders and our communities that will allow them to live, work, and play at our transit stations through these vibrant communities that we're building.
Oceanside City Council member Eric Joyce says while the project has many benefits to travelers, he will be pushing for a space that benefits the Oceanside community.
We're always looking for more community spaces, as we have the Junior Seau that's not too far away, Beach Community Center, but there's never enough space for programming. There's never enough space for our classes. So we are working with the developer to make sure that there's something that is a public benefit directly is included in the final project.
Joyce also hopes the affordable housing element will help keep more people from getting pushed out of the city.
I think this project in particular is really important, and it's a really good opportunity for us to show that new development is actually working for the people that live in Oceanside.
Carlsbad's transit stations are also up for redevelopment. Doherty with NCTD says the Carlsbad Village Station and the Poinsettia Station will each have their own developer, chosen just last month.
We anticipate that there will be mixed-use development that will provide for affordable housing and market-raised housing, as well as ground floor retail.
Between the two projects, Carlsbad will get just over 400 more apartments, and 81 of them will be affordable housing.
Between NCTD and MTS, there's a real big effort at creating more housing for folks.
Corina Contreras represents Vista on the NCTD board. She says they're making progress when it comes to housing, but when it comes to transit, there is still more to be done to connect North County with the rest of San Diego.
If we could build that out, have on the 78 transit priority lanes or managed lanes that allow our buses to go from Vista, and quickly down to San Diego, that provides us more opportunity, whether that's economic opportunity or the opportunity to participate in different recreational things like going to Petco, and whatnot.
Escondido Transit Center is the newest project NCTD has opened up for proposals, with 13 acres available for housing and retail. Developers have until March to submit their plans. Tanya Thorne, KPBS News.
And that story by Tanya Thorne is an example of our in-depth feature reporting. You can stream all of our recent stories on the KPBS YouTube page. It's also where we live stream KPBS Evening Edition weeknights at 5. Another option for people to get around is by bike, especially e-bikes, which are surging in popularity. Claire Tregesser tells us more about the safety issues some are raising, especially when it comes to younger riders.
You should be able to pass a test, in my opinion, but right now it's kind of the Wild West.
Dan Sachs owns Happy E-Bikes in Carlsbad. He says there are lots of benefits to electric bikes, but they can be dangerous in the hands of children who don't follow the rules of the road.
You do see right now kids riding bikes all over the place. You get a lot of people complaining, a lot of the neighbors and people complaining that kids are very reckless on these bikes, and quite frankly, a lot of them are. And it really comes down to being very cautious on the road and taking, I believe people should take a course on riding a bike.
E-bikes can reach speeds of up to 30 miles per hour and are a popular way for young people to get around. E-bike owner Tracy Lothringer recently had a near miss with some students outside a high school.
They accelerated to get in front of me, which I put my brakes on, which was fine, but then they slammed their brakes on to make a quick right turn into their parking lot. And no understanding that there's a flow of traffic behind them. It's just, and kids get hurt. I see it all the time. They're driving these things that go 30 miles an hour with no helmets.
There are currently no tests required to ride an electric bike, something Ed Clancy from local non-profit Pedal Ahead, which is an e-bike loan-to-own program, thinks needs to change.
Any type of cyclist should be required to have some sort of standardized test, just as much as DMV should have some questions and standardized testing for licensing. And so really to bring a community awareness to that, the road is shared by many different types of vehicles.
Clancy says the issue seems to be here to stay because there are now more e-bikes being sold in the US than electric cars. Claire Strong, KPBS News.
A big announcement today in Washington. California Senator Dianne Feinstein says she won't run for re-election. The move was long speculated given her 30-plus years in office and her advanced age. She'll be in her 90s when her term ends. Congress members Katie Porter and Adam Schiff are among those planning to run for the seat in 2024. And the other big 2024 announcement today is in the presidential race, with Nikki Haley launching her campaign. The Republican served as ambassador to the United Nations for a couple of years in the Trump administration. She's also well known for her time as governor of South Carolina. Haley would be the first woman and first person of Indian descent to serve as president. Today marks 5 years since the mass shooting at a Parkland, Florida high school that inspired a national protest movement. Speaking in Washington, President Biden took a moment to remember those who lost their lives.
I met every one of those families, spent time with them all. And a lot of you here have to confront violence in your communities every single day. We took a big step toward passing the most significant bipartisan gun legislation in 30 years. Ghost guns and other things, background checks, but there's a lot more work to do.
And still, mass shootings are just as common in the U.S., with the most recent example just last night at Michigan State University. 3 people were killed and 5 others injured. Police say the shooter took his own life. A high-profile San Diego figure in an anti-Semitic extremist group has fled the country. Here with the story is iNews Source investigative reporter Jill Castellano.
Robert Wilson was supposed to stand trial for a hate crime last year, but this former Chula Vista resident may never have his day in court. Wilson is a member of an anti-Semitic hate group known as the Goyim Defense League, which spreads conspiracy theories about Jewish people online. They also distribute flyers around the country and hang banners in public with hateful messages. Wilson is accused of assaulting his next-door neighbor, who is gay, on their shared driveway while yelling homophobic slurs at him. He could face up to 3 years in prison if convicted. Here's what Wilson told CBS 8 reporter David Gottfredson outside the courthouse at his arraignment in late 2021.
Did you do what they say you did?
I didn't do anything.
Okay. Did you hang a banner on Highway 805?
No.
Are you in a feud with your neighbor?
No.
You didn't yell homophobic slurs at your neighbor?
There's no such thing as homophobia.
Court records show Wilson booked a one-way ticket out of the country last summer and has not returned since. Wilson's social media accounts are still active and still showing that he's spreading hateful messages, but now from Poland. One photo that went viral on Twitter shows Wilson and another member of his hate group holding up anti-Semitic signs at the Auschwitz Memorial. Almost 6 months have passed since Wilson missed his last court appearance. The San Diego County District Attorney's Office wouldn't say if they're extraditing Wilson, but they said the fact that he's not in San Diego anymore means that our community is safer. For KPBS, I'm iNews Source investigative reporter Jill Castellano.
And iNews Source is an independently funded nonprofit partner of KPBS.
I'm Amna Nawaz. Tonight on the NewsHour, we speak with a student who witnessed the aftermath of last night's mass shooting at Michigan State University. Coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
Well, gradually, we'll start to see the winds coming down later on tonight. Wow, a lot of wind out there this afternoon. Continued cool the next couple of days. Could we see some changes for the weekend? We'll explore that possibility. Wind advisory still out through the evening. Again, 10 o'clock local time. In fact, even some high wind warnings still out toward Pine Valley and Julie, Mount Laguna. Some of these winds here have been above hurricane force out of the west, and it's been locally breezy throughout all of San Diego County. A couple of gusts here above 30 miles per hour. We also have high surf advisory out for the San Diego County beaches. Some of those wave heights at 7 to 9 feet. Minor beach erosion is going to be a possibility, and a high rip current risk. This goes right into Wednesday afternoon. So keep that in mind here too. Some dangerous conditions out there on the, again, waterfront here. Talking about San Diego County for tonight. Going to be talking about temperatures dropping into the 30s. Look at that. Ramona down to 28. We're down below the freezing mark. Showers will be wrapping up, and we could even see some frost. That's right. In some of the interior valleys, we're going to be talking about that frost here away from the coast. Plenty cold over the higher terrain, but into the interior valleys, if you have some of that sensitive vegetation, bring that indoors or cover it up. Temperatures will be dropping down into those 20s and 30s, but again, there goes the upper level low off toward the east, so we're clearing out. The winds are calming down. And we're going to stay cool here as we go right into Wednesday. There's your active weather conditions now from the Colorado Rockies south along Interstate 25, dipping the jet stream. We remain chilly. Temperatures only in the low 60s. Look at Mount Laguna only topping off at 34. Borrego Springs 63. Continued cool as we go into Thursday. Let's check ahead here, see if anything's in store for the weekend. Does appear that there can be some clouds on the increase. Doesn't seem to be a lot of wet weather now at this point. Heading into the weekend, we'll continue to fine-tune this forecast. Temperatures lower 60s at the coast. Interior valleys clouding up on Saturday. Could see some moisture as we go into mid and late week, though, looking at lots and lots of sunshine. Temperatures into the 60s. Over the mountains, bitter cold. Next couple of days, gradually climbing into the upper 30s. And over the desert, we're going to be talking about temperatures climbing up through the 60s. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Justin Pavic.
Chula Vista became the first city in California to become a certified welcoming city in 2019. Now, just 3 years later, it is also the first city in the state to lose that distinction. KPBS reporter Gustavo Solis explains why Chula Vista is no longer a welcoming city.
This is to the city manager, Ann Guggens.
Margaret Baker spent hours volunteering to help Chula Vista become a certified welcoming city. It was a rigorous process that included several public meetings and policy reviews, all to ensure that Chula Vista is a safe and welcoming place for marginalized communities, including immigrants. Baker and other advocates are now livid that Chula Vista quietly chose to abandon the Welcoming City program.
I cannot believe it, that they would be so crude and rude to all the people who have worked on this.
According to a statement, City Manager Maria Cachadorian chose not to recertify Chula Vista as a welcoming city in November 2022. The city has not made any public announcements of the fact that it is no longer a certified welcoming city. On the contrary, Chula Vista continues to boast about being a welcoming city, even though it's no longer certified. Chula Vista still has a welcoming city section on its website. And as recently as the February 7th City Council meeting, Cachadorian pointed to the certification as an example of progress Chula Vista has made in diversity and inclusion efforts.
The city has made significant strides towards advancing equity. The city is ranked third in most recent New American Economy Index. We also have been certified as a welcoming city for its commitment and efforts to include and welcome immigrants in areas of civic, social, and economic life in Chula Vista.
According to a city spokesperson, Cachadorian decided not to pursue the recertification process because of staffing priorities to launch a new Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion program. Baker criticized the city for lack of transparency on this issue.
Someone should have had the decency to say it in one of the many meetings that I've attended over the last 6 months. I'm flabbergasted.
Welcoming America is the independent organization that certifies welcoming cities. They wrote a letter to Chula Vista with concerns over the city's surveillance program. During the original certification process in 2018, Welcoming America was unaware of the fact that the Chula Vista Police Department was sharing data from its automated license plate reader program with Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Had they known that, Chula Vista would not have been certified. Here is Baker reading from a letter that Welcoming America sent to Chula Vista in 2021.
Had we known that this information was being shared, the assessment would have been non-compliant, meaning we never should have been a welcoming city in the first place.
Chula Vista stopped sharing that data with ICE in 2020. Mayor John McCann was not available for an interview Tuesday. Gustavo Solis, KPBS News.
Students at one elementary school in City Heights are showing their love of art this Valentine's Day. And with the help of their teachers and some professionals, KPBS video journalist Charlotte Radulovich takes us to Hamilton Elementary for a look at their mosaic masterpiece in progress.
Rainforest Art Project is one of our oldest collaborators. We've been working with them for over 10 years, and they go to different school sites. What we really are striving for with this program is longevity, really giving children an opportunity to create works that will survive beyond their experience as an elementary schooler.
All the mosaics out there are from another third grade or second. Like, I like sticking the pieces and cutting them. It's actually a really fun project to do.
So they're currently working on cutting pieces and putting thin set on to put them all together. It says love grows here, which is another one of our themes. So they're working on putting it all together. We have a big theme that kind of started a little bit before COVID and then has kind of carried on of never give up. So a lot of our pieces, and even some that you've seen on campus, we have a bench, and there's a couple other mosaics that have never give up, and that was totally student driven.
I love this school.
And here is a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom, NPR's Morning Edition. We'll have more on Senator Dianne Feinstein's decision not to run for re-election and the potential names that might try to replace her. And then on KPBS Midday Edition, we'll talk about the spy balloon mystery and reports that one may have been spotted above Coronado in recent years. And as always, you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley. And by the following: by viewers like you. Thank you.